Hello, everyone, and welcome on this new episode of Education Futures. Today, I'm very happy to be with Jaan, who is leading the scientist team who's overseeing the national rollout of OpenAI for education in Estonia, the AI leap, as the Estonian government calls it. And so we're going to get a deep dive into this fascinating countrywide rollout. Thank you so much, Jan, for being with us today.
Happy to be here.
So, Jan, tell us a bit more about you, about your career path, about your current position at the University of Tartu. Is it Tartu? Yeah.
That's pretty correct, yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a bit more about you.
Yeah, so I have it could take more than an hour for me to explain my background,
True.
but no,
True.
I'm gonna try to cut it short. So yeah, I went to study psychology in Berlin. Then I fell in love with neuroscience. So I did my PhD in the Max Planck Institute for Brain Research, where I mainly studied consciousness and tried to figure out how the brain works. Then I came back to Estonia, maybe a bit more than, let's say, roughly 15 years ago. Um, Estonia is my home country. I came back here, but then I landed in the Institute of Computer Science, and we started to study artificial intelligence before it was popular. Basically, then we already started to work on it, but also coming back to Estonia, then I felt that, I could use all of my knowledge in neuroscience to help teachers. And I started to talk about education and get involved in education. I then went back to neuroscience, back to Berlin, did some hardcore neuroscience stuff. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. But since I've been back now the second time, I've been here associate professor, and I think, I hope what people appreciate about me is that I have this very kind of a strange background. Done psychology, I've done neuroscience, I've done artificial intelligence, and I tackle questions that are at the center of this interaction. And yeah, these days, education is one of those topics. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing these things.
Amazing. Yes, I think it's so interesting that in your profile you have like human intelligence, like neuroscience, how the brain works, how the brain learns, how the brain thinks, and then the background also in artificial intelligence. And you bring both to the table, which is quite fascinating and very much needed.
I mean, I hope so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And but I do think that these days, to actually say something meaningful about education and AI, you need to have this kind of a background. Otherwise, we see these people who only know about AI. For them, it's very easy that AI will revolutionize everything, improve everything. And on the other hand, have people who have worked on education and psychology, and they are too afraid perhaps even to touch upon AI and say that no, it will be doom. And then you need people who kind of know a bit from both sides and can try to figure out whether we can actually do something reasonably here.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's where you come in. So this is really interesting. We're going to talk about the AI Leap, the 2025 national strategy of Estonia. It's a level of ambition we rarely see. What
That's how
is
we are in
it?
Estonia. That's what we do.
I know. I love your country. I've been visiting Estonia many times, Estonian schools. I've talked to the Estonian, Ministry of Education, and I really, really, I'm quite fascinated about what's happening in your country. So, yeah, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. But what is the AI leap for education?
Well, it is, as you said, a national program that basically a year ago did not exist. It was, some people knew about it, but it was not announced yet a year ago. So we're talking here February, and last year, February 25, it was not yet kind of announced. But now, today, basically, schools are having this tool, and we are starting to study it. So it has been a very tough year because usually scientific projects, they take a long time to get right. But here we didn't have any time because the president said, we will do it. And the Minister of Education and Research said, we will do it. And then he said,
Wow.
okay, we have to do it.
Wow, it's quite impressive. Now, a bit more about Estonia. What made it possible for Estonia to do it and to do it so fast? What is the Estonian secret?
I think there are a couple of things. So the first thing is, of course, that we're kind of a digital nation, that everything is kind of doable here, and we have a lot of experience with running these kinds of projects and things. But I think that by itself is not why we're doing this, because the second component is now that you actually have to be also able to implement new ideas and do it very fast, right? And do it in a very reliable manner. And I think that is the key reason. And I think that's the key reason why we're also working with companies like OpenAI, that they see also that, okay, these crazy Estonians, they can actually pull it off. And so far we have delivered from our side,
Wow,
and they have delivered from their side.
amazing. So, can you tell us more about this OpenAI rollout? So every teacher and every student and every staff in a school has now access to OpenAI EDU, right? Or and then what is the difference between OpenAI that I'm using every day and the OpenAI EDU that you might be rolling out?
Actually, we have actually an Estonian version of
Uh-huh.
that. So if you are simply checking OpenAI ADU, then that's not what we have. And that was the crazy thing, when we met the people from OpenAI last April. Then we, from the get-go, said, we are not satisfied with OpenAI ADU. We want our model, we want our system that has certain pedagogical capabilities.
Wow.
And the fun thing was that then the OpenAI people looked at us and said, okay, because it's such a crazy thing if you think about it. Some Estonians there coming with their crazy ideas, and then the big companies saying, yeah, of course, it makes sense, let's do it. So it's not the edu version, it's a specific pedagogically more sound version that has been really designed by people here in Estonia, including myself.
So can you give us some aspects of what makes your version different in terms of pedagogy? And I guess you've worked with learning scientists on this to make it evidence-based and pedagogically proof, as you said. So can you give us some examples of how it is different?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that I think if you today still would use the standard ChatGPT 8U, then if you give a task like, okay, I need to solve this task or I need to write this essay, then it would say like standard ChatGPT, okay, here's the solution. But that's not learning. You learn exactly nothing there. So the first thing we did, and the first thing big difference is that this system would not give you the answer immediately, but it would say, okay, let's solve this together. What do you think, for example, what could be in the first paragraph of this essay, or what do you know about this topic? Or what is the main idea you want to convey? So something like that, that it immediately stops and starts turning it back, asking questions from the student. And that's a key aspect to actually learn something, that you have to construct it in your own brain, right? And then that this AI tool is not hindering it by giving all the answers, but actually doing it, saying, what do you think? What's the thing you want to do?
Wow.
Um, so that is one of the key things we want to get it to do. And then there are many other aspects. So for example, another aspect is of course that we all know about the mindset research, right? So this tutor is meant to actually support students. When a student says, I don't know, I have no idea, then basically to say, yeah, but it is hard, but I'm sure you can do it. I mean, let's just try. What is the idea that you have? Or if the student says I'm bad in maths, then they say you know, but you still can train it. You still can try to do these tasks. That these things are not fixed. So basically, that's what our system is supposed to do. And there are then a couple of these things that we have tried to bake into the system.
Hmm, that's fascinating. But aren't you scared that giving this tool to all the students in Estonia will make them lazier?
Well, there are two things. First, just to clarify, it went to the 10th and 11th graders, to so those who are already kind of more let's say advanced.
Yeah.
The second thing is that I don't know about France. I don't know so much about other countries, but here in Estonia, anyway, most students anyway use standard ChatGPT, and standard ChatGPT brings all of these problems that you mentioned. If you use standard ChatGPT, then you're not learning how to learn, you're not learning to use your brain, you're not learning to teach. Or sorry, to think. You're also not learning to teach, but that's anyway, no student is anyway not learning that. But so the hope is here that we have anyway a very bad situation, so let's try to remedy it by having this tutor that at least tries to guide the student to learn actively. So in a very bad situation, I think this is a very nice thing to do. I think so. And hopefully it will not only um, let the students learn how to use AI, but it will actually teach them how to learn by themselves, right? So
Absolutely.
that's the hope here. I mean, now we started this. Now first schools are using it, first students are using it. Now we will see. I mean, that was the hope. It still is the hope, but we will figure out in a bit of time.
Hmm. And is this just a rollout of the tool, or is there a nationwide strategy that is in place where you encourage certain use of AI and certain use you discourage other use of AI in the strategy, or is it for now just a tool rollout?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, because of course I should have clarified from the get-go, but I didn't. That it's not only a tool, but rather the tool was basically launched now, just as we speak here in the beginning of February. But the program for teachers was launched already in August.
Um,
So in August, we had a nationwide, basically online course for teachers on what's coming, what is AI doing, how to use it in teaching process. And now in the beginning of December, we had this similar type of launch event for students where, we had a bit of lectures, a bit of examples of actually how to use it wisely. And we have these ongoing um, classes also for teachers and hopefully also for students. So actually the tool has been the last thing. The first part has been to prepare the whole learning environment for that. Yeah.
Interesting. So you focus also on AI literacy.
Exactly. I mean, that
Sure.
is the key. I mean, and teachers have to be aware, and students themselves also. They have to. It's not only AI literacy. I would say it's also brain literacy, because they have to understand that why you don't learn if you just let the AI do the task for you. Why this tutor we are developing here is better for the learning process. They have to know it. They have to basically understand it.
Do you tell them about friction, about the power of friction, the power of effort when you learn? It's a mandatory step in the learning
Yeah,
process. You
exactly,
teach that.
exactly. So yeah, we explain these things, and we hope that the tutor kind of automatically also supports students in that. Yeah, exactly.
And for the teachers, I mean, what type of support will they get? I understand they had this course, this online course in August last year. Is there going to be an ongoing support for teachers?
Yeah, there is, there is. As I said, so I think there's maybe every 2 weeks or every every month there is a kind of this some kind of online lectures for them. But more importantly, there are also then organized these professional learning circles in many schools. So it's not 100% of schools, but I think it's more than 50. So it's a lot of schools. I would say most of the schools have these professional learning circles where teachers come together and they share experiences and they talk about it. And this is all also organized by the AI Leap. So it is, I think, a very nice program that is not only centered on technology, but is fully centered on this societal change.
Fascinating. And you, as a researcher, your role with your team is to oversee the impact measurement, if I can say so, of this initiative. Did you already start measuring something? If so, what? If not, when will you start measuring?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a central question, right? Will these tools actually have an effect? And if they have, will they have a positive effect? So I'm very fortunate here that the Minister of Education and Research also thought that this is really important, that we need to figure it out, because fundamentally you could do this everything without launching a study. You could say, oh, now we give AI tools to all students, we make a big story out of it, but that's not how it went here, and we really I can say that actually today we started the study. Today we got all the permissions. Today we are launching it, and so what's going to happen is that there will be a suite of tests, like you would do in every other country. I mean, we have carefully picked them, and we, for example, have developed our own original AI literacy scale that's developed here within the last year. So students will fill that now, and then in a couple of months. However, the key innovation that we are doing together with OpenAI is that um, not only will we do a pre-test and post-test, but in between we will also monitor their ongoing learning progress with specifically made AI tools that are there to track, for example, uh, is the student struggling? Okay, if the student is struggling, is the tutor actually supporting the student or not? If it's not supporting, okay, we need to fix that. But if it's supporting, okay, does it now help the student? And we have a lot of these different systems that track different aspects of the student learning process, and we hope thus to gain a much more granular and detailed understanding of the whole learning process. We'll
Mm.
see how this goes, but this has been really over the last, let's say, 6 months, one of the key topics that we have been working on to get all this system ready, and to actually get then insights into the learning that nobody else so far has. So
Mm.
that would be great. I mean, as of today, I cannot say whether everything will work, but yeah, it will be interesting.
So, if I understood you right, you are measuring the AI literacy first, And then,
And other things like also you could think about learning beliefs, for example, or some other things that other people would also measure when you want to understand what happens, right? So these are like, yeah, the standard tests plus a couple of things we have developed pre and post. Yeah.
when is going to be the post? How much time?
No, it will be roughly 4 months. So yeah, maybe it would be nice to have it longer, and probably we will continue doing the study next year. But this 4 months might be already a good kind of uh, indication. And I mean, I would not be surprised if we would see some effects. But I'll tell you next time.
Yes, please come back in this podcast in 6 months' time. I would love to discuss that with you. And so, are you also studying, because that could also be interesting, the increase or decrease of well-being? Because what we see, there's a lot of emotional offloading of kids, and not I mean, in your case, it's younger adolescents, almost adults, right? But will you also measure the well-being? Because that's for me one of my key worries is that there is this offloading of your own thinking, but also offloading of your emotional well-being to the AI, rather than to your parents or to your friends or whomever.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is a real worry, but here, yeah, a strategic decision was made that we do not want to analyze also based on the chats that the students do anything about their emotions. That it's we felt that in this case not ethical, so we will actually, yeah, try to take out, remove from the data anything where they discuss their emotions or anything related to themselves or their family that's not related to learning. I mean, it's a strategical decision. I to completely see the point also in analyzing that, but yeah, we had to start somewhere, and I think it makes sense to start from the basics of learning,
Mm.
and then one can improve it also, and yeah, to study other things.
Absolutely. Will you also, at some point, maybe not now, but maybe later, also focus on the learning outcomes per se, like having a special test before, and then the exact same test post 4 months, to really see if there's some impact on the results and the grades of
Yeah,
the
yeah, I mean,
students?
that's what I mean. I guess here in the podcast, you also have discussed that, grades are overrated. When you
Mm.
think about itself, the learning itself is not grades, right? It's the process. So we were very keen to actually focus more on that. And I think both the pre-post test that we have and the analysis we do in between, it's more kind of uh, uh, tuned to understand this learning process. And I think I would be perfectly happy if all of these students, or some, at least many of these students, they learn about learning, even if I don't care, or I don't know whether the grades will improve, because I do think, and I guess everybody or many people listening to the podcast know that grades are just a measure. They don't necessarily indicate learning.
Absolutely. And yeah, and what would you say makes the Estonian education system so successful when we look at the standardized tests like PISA, and but not just PISA. I mean, when you visit an Estonian school, you're just like blown away by how happy these kids seem, and the relationship they have with their teachers, and also the different subjects. I love that you have different subjects like knitting or a cooking class or DIY classes. I mean, I just love the variety of skills that you're teaching your kids in this system. So, what would you say are the secrets of the Estonian success?
Yeah, maybe one is a bit speculative, because I don't have data to back it up. Is that in Estonia, the kindergarten goes until you are 7, basically. So
Mm.
kids don't go to school very early. They play, they have maybe a few classes in the kindergarten. Some of them learn to read in the kindergarten, but they just play. They play around, they are a lot outside. They do stuff that is meant for kids. And
Mm.
then around 7, they really do this change that so it's not too early to the school, but they go late, and then they are ready for it. They are ready for school
Mm.
because of their age. The second reason, which I think is really important, is that in Estonia the teachers have full autonomy.
Mm.
So basically there is something like a general curriculum that you have to fulfill, but the way the teachers do it is completely up to them, like completely. So teacher has a lot of autonomy, freedom, and that's why I think the teachers are more dedicated, because they're not teaching someone else's class, they are teaching their class. And of course, if you're the learner, you can also see it, you can notice it, that the teacher is excited. Oh, today I brought this example, yeah, let's do it. I think that's a key reason, that's a key thing, which for us, for our study, makes things a bit more complicated also, right? Because, we cannot say, and the Estonia Ministry of Education and Research cannot say, everybody, all teachers, you have to use AI in your classes. You cannot
Mm.
say that. We can recommend it. We can give all these supporting classes, but
Mhm.
it's up to the teacher how
Yeah.
much they use it, which makes it a bit hard to do the study and everything. But I think still this autonomy is a really important aspect of the Estonian education system. There are probably a couple of other reasons too. Yeah, Estonia is also in the top when it comes to how many books you have in the household, for example.
Really?
So, and if children they are a lot around books, then they read more, and then they are more prepared for school, and they do that. Yeah,
And I didn't know that fun fact about
yeah. I
Estonia.
think this is something. If you would look books in household per capita, then you would find
I
Estonia
love
quite
it.
a lot.
I love it. Yeah, and I love that this teacher autonomy is really praised and celebrated, and you don't have anyone looking after the teachers like we have in France or in Germany, calling the inspectors who inspect teachers. That doesn't exist in Estonia. There's a full trust around the teacher profession, and I really, yeah, I think it's quite impressive that you trust your teachers so much. I find it wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are some mechanisms like teachers visiting each other's classes, but I don't know if it's mandatory. There are some things, but there's not no mandatory like this supervision and thing. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Jan, if you were to design the school of the future, a future-proof school that would be suited for a world in 2040 where AI is absolutely everywhere and AI has taken over many, many, many parts of our education systems, how would this school look like? What would you preserve? What would you change? What are the skills that you would teach in that school?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some sense, the changes would actually not be so drastic, because there's a reason why the education system is like that. It's not optimal, and I will tell you a couple of things I would change, but I think it would not be so drastically different, because sometimes people say, "Oh," and then everybody learns by themselves on their phone, but that's crazy, and that's not good, because if you think about first graders, second graders here in Estonia, they are 7 years old, as I said, right? For them, it's really also key that you learn together, because it's everybody else is learning, right? You see, and then you learn, and there for them, for the 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, the fact that you have a teacher in front of you is still also very important, and it's something that's really ingrained in our brains, that we are a species that teaches. We are pedagogical species, meaning that young children, they are very capable of learning from an adult, but they are not so capable of learning simply from screens. So I think for the youngest ones, basically, not so much would change. Still, I would say that, in Estonia also, we will try to bring it earlier and earlier and earlier, the education about AI. So I would envision that still there, already the first graders at some time point, they know about AI.
Yeah.
They will be told, maybe shown a bit about AI, but simultaneously they will be explained exactly why you cannot simply let everything be done by AI. That basically everyone in Estonian schools, but also in schools worldwide, they would know what learning is already from the first grade. They would understand that it's something you do in your brain, and that the AI is there. It's a tool, but you will learn to use it a bit later. And actually, my big hope is that by then we will not only have these standard uh, AI tools that are not supportive of learning, but actually we will have these dedicated learning tools that really support learning. That every company we have will have these kind of special AI tutors that are really benefiting learning. My big hope is, of course, that what we do now in Estonia is a good example of that. So I think in that sense, uh, the perfect school of future is not so different. It's very human centric. The teacher has a different role a bit, and one big change would also be that the teachers would not give so much homework to, for example, just reading at home. Rather, that it would be quite normal that students at home, they learn with AI tutor a new topic on math or history. They learn a lot about the new topic, but then they come together in school, and now they discuss, and the teacher has the role more of leading the discussion, and being also aware when an AI has made mistaken assumption or recommendation for a student. So in that sense, I think we're not that far off from that kind of school. We could do it in some schools in Estonia. We could do it in a couple of years already. We will do it.
I mean, I hope so, and I will follow what's happening in Estonia from very close. I mean, yeah, and so I love the fact that you want to teach kids how to learn. I think this is a key element. And if you had to teach to say to a 5-year-old how learning works, or maybe to a 7-year-old, how would you explain it for parents? We have a lot of parents listening. How would you explain to a kid how the brain learns?
Actually, yeah, I don't need to think, because I here in Estonia I've written a book. Um, you cannot understand what it means, but basically it's about, let's say, talented brain.
Mhm.
And there I exactly explain to, let's say, 6 to 10 years old about how you learn, and how you can become better in anything. So the key aspects, in very short, is like, I try to explain with simple examples that the brain is plastic. I try to explain that, this is the superpower in the brains of children, that their brain is plastic. They can learn stuff. But then, as we have discussed in this podcast, I also explained that, even if you have this superpower, it still takes time. It still takes effort. It is not easy for anyone. That's fine. That is learning, right? And then, when you have that background, then you can also explain that brains are a bit different. For some children, it might be a bit easier to learn math. For others, it's easier to learn soccer, a bit like that. But still, also to give this overall understanding that, brains are plastic. You can learn stuff, but to do that, you actually need to focus. You need to put in effort. But if you do that, then everybody can learn. So something like that. There's a bit more in the book, but in
No, but
principle.
I love it. And can we also say, is that scientifically correct to say that the brain also releases dopamine when it's learning, and when after the effort curve, after we've done the effort, we see the results of our learning. Is it true that the brain then that because there's this feeling of almost feeling happy or content with myself when I learn something and I put in the effort and then I see the result of my learning and it makes me happy. Is that true that the brain releases dopamine at this point?
Not only dopamine, but that's one aspect of it, and definitely it is a key aspect that, as you said, once they master something. So imagine a child trying to work on math tasks, and I cannot do it. I'm not good at math. But if they have this support from the parents and this knowledge that you can actually try, and then they solve it, and of course, you get the brain gets this dopamine rush, and it's actually great. And then it's much easier to solve the next task, right? It's often about, really solving the first task. And that's why I try to, in my lectures and also in my books, try to explain that, there are these basic things. And if you know them, and if you're in your family, you also tell them to your kid, then it's much easier, and then they are kind of better equipped to learn throughout their life. If from the get-go they know that they can learn, and they also know that learning is not always easy, and it is effortful. It is supposed to be effortful.
Mm,
um
mm.
then I think they are all better off. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you see that, but I see that effort now equals boring and uncomfortable, and I don't want to go there because it's a lot of effort. And in learning, I feel we should celebrate effort. Effort is part of the process. It's not
Exactly.
negative. It's not negative at all. But I feel that
Mm.
young people nowadays they fear and they fear effort, and they basically want to escape it, and
Yeah,
that's
there,
not work.
that is a key problem. I mean, that is a key reason why I also wrote this book, for example. That I see it a lot that, we also think about, oh, how can we make things simpler for kids so that they have fun in school. And of course, schools should be safe environments, but they should be safe environments for effort. They should be safe environments where children try hard and they are safe to fail. That's
Mm.
why they should be safe environments, not safe in the sense that you never have effort. You should have effort. That is the place where you learn how to exert effort, how to fail, how to motivate yourself again. That is the key aspect of the school. Um, and yeah, if we lose that, then we lose an important, essential part of education.
Absolutely. Your point about failing and having the right to fail and being in a safe environment to fail. How important is failure in the learning process? Does the brain need to fail or make errors to learn?
Well, yeah, it's much easier to learn from errors, but somebody, either your own brain or your teacher, has to basically point out the error. Otherwise, you're not learning. So errors can be done in an environment where you also have this feedback, and that's also one aspect where AI tools could be extremely helpful. Right? They are not. They are currently not. Because again, if you open up your favorite chat, then what this chatbot does not do, does not correct you. It is not meant for correcting you, and that is one of the key aspects that is detrimental for learning. Right? In learning, we need this. We need to be in a safe environment, for example, with our family, with our teacher, or with our chatbot. But then we need also this honest feedback that, no, that was wrong, and you could be better by doing that. And I think this is something what every good teacher does perfectly, right? That they don't yell at their student, but they let them gently know that, here, better answer could have been that. And we need to just scale it up to so that every child gets this possibility to fail gently and make mistakes, but learn from them. If we get that, and we might be getting that with the help of these AI tools, then we actually can improve education.
Hmm. Are you envisioning a world in maybe 50 or 100 years where teachers disappear and AIs take over?
Not really, right? I mean, as I told you before, also, I think that teachers have their role, uh, definitely, definitely with the youngest ones, and there you cannot replace teachers, no chance, because again, our brains are wired to learn from a human. Um, Perhaps for some students who are, they are maybe 15, 16, they are super good with learning themselves with the perfect AI tutor. Maybe they don't need a teacher, but I think that many students still need a teacher to help them discuss things, as I said, and to help to learn social skills. So I don't think that schools and teachers will disappear. I think that their role will be a bit more like that of a mentor,
Mm.
a human mentor who actually teaches you how to be a human when the AI can teach you sometimes better the content.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it makes total sense. And if you had to give like a concrete example to a teacher who wants to introduce AI, the use of AI in their classroom, who wants to prepare their students for using it right. Uh, I know some teachers are listening, and I would love to give them some practical tips on one or two things they could try with their students. What would these be?
I think the first key aspect is that the teacher could think about their curriculum or their classes and think, okay, where is such a homework or task where you could tell the student something like, okay, now go and give this task to your favorite AI chatbot, and then observe the answer and try to critically reflect on whether what was correct, what was incorrect, if there was something incorrect, then why it was incorrect. And then bring all these examples to the classroom and discuss it with the students. Because I think it's key that really every student in this world knows that first, these AI tools, they make mistakes these days still, at least. They make mistakes, and we have to be aware of that. And second, then the second thing that the teachers could also perhaps try to explain to their students is, okay, why you cannot learn by simply letting AI do this task for you. I think it's very important, because otherwise the students, they don't have time, they want to be on TikTok, and then they simply do it on AI. But the example I bring is, and I think most students can relate to that, imagine you want to be a soccer player or a basketball player or whatever. Now, and imagine that you never have actually played soccer or basketball, and now somebody tells you, yeah, you can simply learn soccer or basketball from watching it from TV, right? And you watch hours, like 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. And the point is that no matter how much you watch, how a 3-point shot is made or how a penalty kick is made, you don't learn anything about how to do it yourself, because once you are there on the field playing soccer or basketball, then you have to use completely different connections in your brain and also in your muscles, right, to do it. And that thinking is not that different. For thinking, you also need to learn these internal connections in your brain. There's no other way. if you don't do it yourself, then you will not learn it. And I think the point here is also that, the teacher should always say that, okay, tasks are hard, but every time you at least try a bit yourself, then you learn. So getting a straight A on AI produced text gives you nothing. Getting a C on a task where you really tried is much better for your brain, right? And that we normalize this, again, the same thing we discussed, the struggle, the failure. We normalize these things and say that this is learning when you do yourself. You don't know how to do, but you still do. You get feedback, you do a bit better. That's learning.
Yeah, so that's so wonderfully said. Thank you so much, Jan, for reminding us of this. This is so important. Jan, if you had one guest to recommend to this podcast, it's a question that I ask every time. Someone who could talk about AI, who could talk about different visions of education in the age of AI. I would love to have a broader Nordic representation in this podcast, but I'm also very happy to have anyone working in this field from across the globe. It could be from the perspective of a researcher. It could be from the perspective of teachers. It could be of the perspective of policymakers. We love to have these different perspectives in the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question that I cannot immediately give you a good answer, because I know a couple of really good people have also been on your podcast. That doesn't mean that there are not many people. There are still many of these great people. So the fact that I don't immediately recall them doesn't. It means that it's also getting late here. It's 9 p.m. here. Yeah. Excuses.
No worries,
Oh,
yeah.
but again, I think also for the listeners and viewers, this is a great example, right? I mean, now when we finish, then I immediately start thinking about, okay, what name should I have said, right? It's part of learning that sometimes you don't know. And maybe if you ask for tricks for teachers, I mean, this is also something I say to teachers. Sometimes just acknowledge that you don't know the answer the way I just didn't know.
That's so important. The AI is incapable of doing that, and that's a big problem. The AI will never say, I don't know. And that's a huge problem because it never forces you to pause. This AI that will never be able to say, I don't know,
Yeah, and this aspect of failing, but also not knowing the way I did, is human. And I think that's also a key message that could be brought, that, AI kind of pushes us to be perfect. But we don't have to be perfect. We're humans. We make mistakes, we forget things. That's fine. Let's continue to be humans. Let's use AI to be better humans, not to become more like AI. So I think that's also a message I would like people to
It was the
spread.
perfect message to close this session, this recording session. Thank you so much, Jan, for your time and your precious insight. And I hope you'll be back in this podcast in 6 months.
If you invite me, then I have
Yeah.
6 months to think about some names. Huh?
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you so much.
Thank you.